Well, hello there, everybody. So, obviously, the news has been blown way out of the bag that Mario and Lego are actually coming together to make a ton of sets. And it turns out that a couple of months ago, me and one of my good friends, Joe, recorded a podcast on what a Lego Nintendo theme would look like. And it just never got edited and put out in time. So neither of us thought that it was going to come out, but clearly it did. And this piece of content is a little bit outdated, but still has some really good ideas on what they could do together in terms of sets for the future. So who knows? We don't know all the details yet, but I wanted to give you a little bit of an intro before diving into this first conceptual podcast episode, talking about two of my favorite brands of all time coming together, along with my good friend Joe. I'll talk to you later. Enjoy. So something I've wanted to do for a very long time is talk about two of the most favorite brands of mine, the things I've wanted to have combine, like peanut butter and fluff, jelly and peanut butter, fluff and air, right?
I suppose so, yeah.
So,
sure.
I've always wanted to make a podcast episode, a piece of content that involved the marriage of two of my favorite things of all time, Lego and Nintendo. Now, there's a lot of people I'd rather have here, but this gentleman here is all I got. This is one of my good friends, one of my best friends, tremendous friends from the Lego realm. This is the first time I put my hand on his shoulder like this. This is Joe. Joe, say something to the people if you're watching this.
This is exciting. I've never done a video podcast before, so this is, I'm excited to see how it goes, where it goes. I think so.
Okay.
I'm just trying to, like not be too giddy, you know?
No, you can be.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm famous. It's fine. It's fine. We spent an hour and a half rearranging this office to make things look good for all of you. So hopefully if you are watching this as a video podcast, you will enjoy it. And, you know, Joe, again, yeah, you haven't done anything like this before, right?
Not particularly, no.
Cool.
No.
So the way that this is going to go is we're talking about everything in a Lego Nintendo theme were it to exist. So this is something we've talked about in private many, many times.
Too many times.
Far too many times. Yeah. And I'm sick and tired of us talking about this stuff and not actually writing it down or getting something out there that people can enjoy, right? So I wanted to make a podcast about what it would be like if Lego and Nintendo got together, made a theme, two themes, or two waves of sets, because that's how Lego sets typically come out, in case you are unaware. Usually there's a wave 1, and if it sells well, a wave 2, unless it's Angry Birds, or what else has done not stellar?
Galador.
Galador
didn't do super great.
No.
But,
so that's typically what happens, and that's what we're going to talk about today. My name is Brian Saviano, otherwise known in some corners of the internet, not all of them, but some, as BricksOBrian. And we're putting the bricks into BricksOBrian. I haven't played a Lego game in a long time. I haven't built a lot of Lego sets. I haven't done a lot of things involving the bricks. So I need to put the bricks into BricksOBrian. We have some bricks right here, the Death Star, okay? That's a little bit of bricks. Only a couple thousand. We got Piplup. If you're a visual listener, visual watcher, because you watch with your eyes, not with your ears. Lots of stuff here. This is actually a new corner in my office. Whatever. So, again, we've talked about this for a long time. The way that this is going to work is Joe and I have each come up with our own lists for what a Wave 1 and a Wave 2 of a Lego Nintendo line would be, if it were to be a Lego Nintendo line. So if I wanted to say it's a Lego Mario line instead, what would that be? Like, we're both coming at our own angle for what a collaboration between Lego and Nintendo would look like, whether it would be, you know, two waves of sets at what price points and what they would be. So the rules for this are as follows. You get a Wave 1 and 2 with different price points for the different sets, and then for each of those waves, there is a direct-to-consumer set, which means those are the big boys, $200 plus, what would they be? How many, not how many pieces, but like, you know, whatever the set would be, and what figures it might come with and whatnot. And then same thing for Wave 2, as well as a minifigure series. Whatever that minifigure series would be, we will talk about that, compare our list, figure out the discrepancies, and figure out the ultimate Nintendo Lego line for Waves 1 and 2, Years 1 and 2. I like to think that Harry Potter is a base. So Harry Potter came out Wave 1 and 2 of the newest iterations of it. And we got a direct-to-consumer set, a big boy set that's $400, the Hogwarts Castle that I have right over there. It's crazy awesome. So that's what the layout for the stipulations are. We're going to have different things in mind for different properties and all that, but we'll come up with the definitive list here. So, again, we have talked about this before, but I don't know his list verbatim. He doesn't know my list verbatim. We are going to have discrepancies, and we'll come up with it from there. So... what's your experience with Nintendo games to kind of justify you being here? Because you're new to the Switch.
I am.
You're new Switch owner.
But my first game console was a Nintendo 64. One of my first games I ever owned was Super Mario 64. I owned a GameCube. Kind of got lost around the Wii U, but seeing, the ease of access of the Switch, or the Switch Lite in particular.
You're welcome.
Oh, yes, thank you very
much.
Because
I sold him my review copy, or the one I bought for review of my Nintendo Switch, because I couldn't let Joe here go without the joy of the Nintendo Switch any longer.
And I mean, I am relatively new to some of the themes. I didn't grow up with Pokemon, so my first Pokemon was actually on the 3DS.
Mm-hmm.
I was Omega Ruby. So overall, like, kind of a lot of, weird... timeline in there where almost completely skipped the Wii and the Wii U and the games that were offered there. Got into it again with the 3DS, and then of course went into it with the Switch as well.
Yeah,
I've been kind of playing through as many of the staples as I possibly can. So
I've been peer pressuring him into Mario Odyssey, and you have successfully gotten there until your girlfriend has sniped your Switch copy of Mario Odyssey from you.
Well, that's it. It's technically, it was her Switch copy.
Sure.
So, we're sitting in a waiting room. I'm playing, and she goes, "Oh, I want to play that." And I'm like, "Well, that's fine. I can, keep on collecting new characters in Super Smash Brothers. Should be easy enough." And all that. And then she's like, "Oh, can I play?" And yeah, I haven't seen it since.
Yeah.
So,
well, that will hopefully change one day.
I'm hoping.
I love Mario Odyssey, as a lot of you may know, and that just may be a part of this wave one.
It's a part of mine.
So we'll see where it goes. So in terms of price points for sets, typically in a wave of Lego sets, it goes anywhere from, one or two $10 sets, a few $20 sets, 30, 40, 50, 60, up to, 150 before you're getting into the big boys, the Ultimate Collector Series, whatever, play set that might be. So I say we start with wave. Well, let's start with when would you, already, hopefully it would already exist in this fictitious timeline, but when would you want this to come out? Give me a realistic time period that you think, a timetable rather, when this would come out.
I think your best bet with anything like this is to do it in line with a big release.
Sure.
If you don't have a big release, something like a Wii or a Wii or a Switch coming out, your best bet would probably be to do it on an anniversary.
I didn't even think of that.
So, I think about how well Lego Star Wars did coming out when it did in 1999. You had all these people who watched the original in 1977. You had all these new people like me coming into it as a kid in 1999 with Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. And it was great to have an anniversary in place that, it just kind of started there. And now we're celebrating, 21 years of Lego Star Wars. If you're to do something along the same lines as that with maybe a 30th anniversary of, the Nintendo 64. You have
close.
You have exactly, and that's it. You wouldn't have to wait too much longer. You have classics like Super Mario 64. You have Kirby 64. You have the original Super Smash Brothers on there. I can't think that came out in 98.
Yeah.
So I think something like that would be a great release date to do it in conjunction with that. That way you have places like Pokemon Centers or Nintendo World coming out, anything like that where you can have already a rabid fan base looking for something new, and you can have something to coincide with that. just from a marketing standpoint, I think that's probably your best bet.
Now, in terms of marketing standpoints and strategically releasing things when you should, the thing I've been saying for a long while is that, since it's just so happened to be that Illumination is making the Minions movie, and I think Trolls as well. Is it Trolls? No, that's DreamWorks.
I think that's DreamWorks.
But that's under the same umbrella as Universal. Like they have Minion stuff at Universal.
Yes.
Super Nintendo World is at Universal, which I didn't know if did you see the most recent trailer for that by chance?
I did not.
No. So there's going to be like these power-up bands that you wear and the physical item blocks that you go up and punch, and you earn coins throughout walking through the park. It's pretty sick.
That's pretty cool.
I would like to think that since Illumination is making the next Minions movie that we definitely are getting sets for, that they would come out with Mario, at least Mario sets for the Mario movie releasing next year, I think, or the year after. So that hasn't had any development updates, but that is a thing that is in the works. Or it could be a situation where, Lego came out with Overwatch stuff this past, 2019. Was it 2019? 2018? It's 2018.
I think so.
So 2018, and then now they can go into Overwatch 2 with even more sets.
Yes.
And those are new. Those are actual releases for it, where by the time the Lego Overwatch stuff came out, it's like, all right, Overwatch is 3 years old.
Yeah.
It's not going to blow the world up. So either of those strategies, I think, is what they would do within the next 2 to 3 years. I'd like to think sooner rather than later, but, we would see. So that's what I would say leading into the Mario movie as that tentpole release. You're saying an anniversary.
Anything like that, I think. I think having Detective Pikachu come out,
Ooh.
that was a huge release.
Yeah.
And if Lego had, the Game Freak license, I think that would have been a smart time to do any kind of tie in there. And honestly, one of the biggest things that I think is, you look at the fact that so many of these large properties that Lego is licensing with are directly connected with Disney.
Yeah.
It's really good to see them do stuff that's not directly connected with Disney. Because oftentimes, people mistake that, Lego is owned by Disney. And it's like, that's not even remotely true.
Half
They're
the stores.
privately owned. Yeah, half the store is Disney properties.
Yeah.
But, as much as I'm not a Trolls fan or not a Minions fan or Despicable Me fan, I do appreciate the fact that there is that diversity there, because it means that Lego will seriously consider things that are outside of Disney and Pixar.
Yeah, totally.
So,
I agree. And there's infinite things they can do with Disney. There's infinite things they can do at this point with Universal between Minions, Trolls, Shrek. Which
I was going to say,
I think that will absolutely happen.
I'm dying for a Shrek Big Fig.
Shrek with the swamp and oh man, it writes itself. You even have one set, just one set,
and do the buildable dragon.
Yeah,
there you go.
That's fine. But this isn't the Shrek Lego podcast. That's a different iteration. We can go through the whole saga of Shrek. So into the actual price points, what the sets are. So for the smallest set, $10, $15, typically like a battle pack situation, a $10, Benny Space Squad sort of a thing via the Lego Movie 2. There's a $10 set that is going to come out, going to be cheap enough that you can have some cool characters in there, but nothing that's going to go crazy. Typically how those $10, $15 sets are, although we have gotten like the Bounty Hunter Battle Pack that has like IG-88 and Dengar and who else.
And Lego has also gotten very good about that in recent years. I know a lot of adult fans of Lego will do throwbacks and say, why can't we just have an entire set with 12 different medieval soldiers,
right,
each of them in a different garb? And the fact of the matter is, anytime you're dealing with licenses, you have a lot more legal pressure to make sure that it is a construction toy, to make sure that you are delivering on promises you've made to the people whose license you are working under.
Right.
And I think something like Nintendo would probably be very similar to something that we've seen before with things like Harry Potter or Star Wars, where you have battle packs, where you have Aragog's lair, where you have the buildable spider, a couple little spiders, and it's a great way to get some main characters. So
what do you think for the $10 set? What do you think it would be?
So I imagine starting out, kind of at the $15 point.
Sure.
Like with, your average battle pack. Maybe having a Mushroom Kingdom battle pack. So something along the lines of Captain Toad, Toadette, Piranha Plant, and a Bob-omb. Something like your Piranha Plant would be a fun little build. maybe introduce some new printed pieces. And that's going to be another large part of this is you want to have as few new pieces as possible with any new release. That way you're making, Lego wants to make money. And that's a great way to do it is by not having to create new molds, not having to create new printed pieces. If they can put stickers in there, it saves a lot of money instead of doing typical printing.
Every single minifigure series for Disney has brand new molded heads. And even for not just Disney, because Disney stuff, it'll sell.
Yes.
But other themes as well, like they're obviously wanting to make as much money as possible with as little cost as possible. But, Lego doesn't cut corners, neither does Nintendo.
Yeah.
So I think that you having the Toad head, that has to be a new piece. It has to be a new thing.
Absolutely.
But you can make that in different colors, and it's very versatile. You could, have a Toadette variant. That makes sense, too.
And even do, like, the very tiny pinholes that you can put a bow in there if you wanted to.
Sure.
Anything along those lines. And a lot of my Wave 1 stuff is very Mario-centric.
Sure.
Specifically because the way that I designed my list was looking into the fact that we're going to have an animated Mario movie. We're going to have, some anniversaries coming up. So that's mostly why a lot of my Wave 1 stuff is Mario-focused, because Mario and Nintendo, like you said, go together like peanut butter and jelly.
Right.
So for my second $15 one, I have kind of a Koopa Kingdom battle pack.
Okay.
So you have your Dry Bones, your Koopa Troopa, your Koopa Paratrooper, and a Hammer Bro. So all kind of based around the Koopas. You would have some variety of a shell backpack that you could put the wings in for the Koopa Paratroopers.
Mm-hmm.
You could give them, an area we can put a hat on so that your Hammer Bro, you can have a helmet of some kind. Might also be, nice for anybody trying to do army building, anything like that. I know a lot of Lego collectors love anytime they come out with a Stormtrooper battle pack to get as many of those as they possibly can.
Right.
Might be a fun way to kind of fill out your world there. So
yeah, for my $15 ones, it's in the similar vein. I didn't even think I was going to combine both the good and bad guys into one package, but having one pack of each, I think, makes a lot more sense. So mine is similar, although I would add a bit more in terms of blocks. So with Nintendo, they love to do meshing the old with the new in terms of environments and, callbacks and all that. So I would probably have a few Toads in the $15 pack and have, let's say, an item block that's printed on what, how they design those blocks in general is going to be interesting to pull off, whether it's going to be printed pieces or, I would assume at that point it'd be printed, but, how they're going to design it. But then you have that, like a question block, one of the standard brick blocks from Super Mario Bros. You have a few environmental blocks. So basically acts as a way for you to add on to this big Mushroom Kingdom, more like a 2D display like in Super Mario Bros. So you can make a whole, basically, vignette if you wanted to. So you have Toad. You have, I wouldn't say Captain Toad for that specific set, but Lego does have a tendency to add main characters into battle packs. So if you get multiple of them, you're going to get multiple of that same character. And I guess, like in Super Mario Odyssey, Captain Toad is in a lot of places. He's in every single kingdom. So you can find him in there. So that makes sense too. Toadette, I think they would save for just a different set in general. But having characters like Captain Toad. Have you ever played New Super Mario Bros. U?
No, I haven't.
So there's a character called Nabbit, which is a purple rabbit that has kind of like the a handkerchief mask thing like Bowser Jr. kind of has.
Yeah.
So that would be maybe in there too. Also a good opportunity for some power-ups. So you have like a mushroom, you have a fire flower, and invincibility star, just like base level stuff. But, do you put Mario in there? Like, would Mario go in every single Mario set? I think he's kind of obligated to, considering how many different outfits he has too.
And it's kind of tricky when it comes to that because you look specifically at things like DC superheroes.
Batman's in all of them.
And Batman is in all of them.
Spider-Man's
it
in all of
doesn't
them.
even have to be a Batman set. We had an Aquaman set that included Batman because he has so many cool toys. He had a submarine in that one. Did we need a submarine? Not necessarily. I would have personally preferred some kind of brick-built sea creature to go with Aquaman, some kind of large shark or squid or something like that. But again, Batman sells.
Yeah.
So, you're probably going to end up with multiples of Mario.
But it'll be good if they just mitigated how many repeats you get by having different suits. So you have like the Fire Flower suit, the ice suit. I mean, they could even make it with an ice suit in the beginning, that first $15 one, because you're getting multiple Mario sets eventually.
Yes.
So that's what I would say. Having dry bones for the $15 one is great. I think you have to have a Goomba. You have to.
In that $15
you have
set?
to, yeah. I mean, Hammer Bro is more of I'm thinking like levels 1, 2, and 3 of Super Mario Bros. Like, what enemies are going to be there at the very beginning. The first enemies I think of Goomba, Koopa, and then like a blooper, but they're not going to put a blooper in this set. So if you take out maybe the dry bones for the Goomba, or maybe 2, because they're probably going to be brick built and cheap, they're probably going to be like, you got a ton of them by the end of it anyways. But that would be about where I'd agree. And then same thing, you get like the gray castle blocks, you get maybe a fire bar, Piranha Plant. That's a great one I didn't even think of from the Mushroom series. I'd probably put that in the enemy pack just to, keep it all, the bad guys together. Or, I mean, if you want, it depends. It depends on what you wanted the focus to be. But whatever is in the packs needs to be able to be bought 50 times so you can put it throughout the entire line.
And something like Goombas would be an easy thing because they're basically cannon fodder of the Mario universe. So
unless you got it like it's a $15 set, like the Bounty Hunter pack, you buy one of them and you're done, and you get all of them.
Yeah.
But I don't think they would do that for this specifically. They want you to buy multiple, and I would totally.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But that's the 15s, and from that price point, you got up to 20 and 30. Now, what I told Joe and what I think would be best in terms of us agreeing and disagreeing and whatever, that the line can be kind of meshed. So what he might say is a $30 set, I might say is 20. Some of these sets can be 25. It just really depends. But this, the birthday gift you get for your friend to bring to his birthday party, so you don't look like a jerk bringing nothing. You're not going to buy a $10 gift. You're not going to buy a $40 gift. It's that 20, 30 birthday gift price range. Something your aunt that doesn't see you very often gets you for your birthday, assuming that you're going to like it.
Yeah, and you're going to go into the store expecting to spend $20, $30. Yeah. You don't want to be spending $60 on a brand new video game, but if you see it for $20, $30 and you don't even know anything about Mario, but you see Mario's in there, that's good enough.
Yeah. So what do you have for a 20?
So for one of the 20s, I put in, I just called it Bullet Bill Breakout. I really enjoyed the alliteration.
Right. Cool.
But that would be something like you have a buildable bullet bill with a segment of that like level 1-1 style 2D terrain, like you were saying, things like the POW block. And I wanted to do a stack of Goombas. How they appear in Super Mario Odyssey.
Wow,
I want to have the Goombas be able to be stacked on top of each other because I think that is just the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life is just the stack of Goombas coming at you. So
that's why you didn't have the Goombas in the first
set.
That
is initially, and that's like how some of these are, is not including minifigures in certain sets, specifically so I can put them in other sets. But I agree with you with something like Cannon Fodder. You want to have them in the battle packs. It's not necessary to have them only in more expensive sets. But I do think it would be funny to have 5 or 6 Goombas advertised as a stack of Goombas.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I'd put for a $20 set. And then another one is, we see the 4+ theme exploding. A lot of young builders aren't quite there with, the tactile stuff. They want an easier build. They want more printed pieces, less stickers. And another one that we've seen come out recently that has been selling very well is little Disney storybooks. So doing a 4+ $20 Yoshi's Woolly World storybook, where you open it up, it has some of those felt pieces like they've used in the Troll sets. You have a catapult and a slide, but you'd also get Yoshi, a Shy Guy, and Baby Mario. That way, any AFOLs who are potentially looking at it have a reason to buy this 4+ set that's not just, well, I need to complete the series. They're going to want Baby Mario. You're going to want Yoshi, and $20 really isn't bad for something like that, for such a simplistic build. Kind of justifies a little bit. So those are my $20 concepts.
You put a lot more thought into this than I did. So I didn't even think of, I don't want to say gimmicks like that, but like the whole storybook thing. I didn't even think of, I mean, that's a great idea. And Yoshi's Island is kind of like a story as it is anyways.
Yes, exactly.
So that makes a lot of sense. Now, this is, I guess, where we start to differ, because as much as they would release it for the Super Mario movie, but a lot of these sets, these themes, these whatever, have a lot of versatility and are evergreen. So, you know, you have Breath of the Wild. It's the best-selling Zelda game of all time. Same thing with Mario Odyssey. Nintendo has never been more popular and more conscious in the public eye. So having something like Zelda come out and have it be relevant, even though there's not necessarily a movie for it or a promotional item for it, it's still going to sell well. So the $20 set for me would be from Breath of the Wild, a Guardian with Link on a horse. So I'm thinking back to that first E3 trailer we saw of Link riding the horse. He hops off it with the ancient bow and arrow and shoots against the Guardian. Because of anything in Breath of the Wild that is iconic, that isn't massive in scale, it's going to be the Guardian. So it's going to be, you know, you have some maybe translucent pieces all along the body. Getting that shape is going to be difficult. I've seen a lot of people do it successfully and not as successfully, but if anyone can do it, it's Lego Master Builders, of course. You have Link in the Breath of the Wild, you know, champion's tunic on a standard white horse or Epona. You can make an Epona, even though Epona isn't necessarily from that game. You know, it's an additional thing you scan with an amiibo if you have it, but
it would also be a great throwback for anybody who isn't super interested in Breath of the Wild and they want a Link on an Epona just to give it that coloration, brings in another audience potentially. And I don't know if you remember how much the Gandalf firework cart was from Lord of the Rings. Was that a $20 set?
I don't even know what that set is.
Okay. I was going to say, I was trying to remember what the price point was on that, because that included two minifigures and a horse.
Yeah,
Bill the horse.
With what's his face, Bilbo? No,
it was Frodo and Gandalf.
Because I didn't see Lord of the Rings, so I thought it was Bilbo. Oops,
I know what we're doing this weekend.
And we're not watching Lord of the Rings, because that would take 17 hours with the extended editions. But yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you could even make that a $30 set if you wanted to. Yeah, it's that same sort of that range. There is what I would say.
And the color palette for Breath of the Wild is absolutely beautiful. You could get in some really nice colors that would have people coming back to buy that set multiple times, not just for the horse, but also for like the colored pieces you'd be using in the Guardian.
Definitely. And with that, you have another $30 set that I think, I don't know if this would be a wave one. So I'm more, again, coming from an all-around standpoint, I think this set needs to be done, and it's the only set of it that would come out that we have talked about before. It's the R-Wing from Star Fox.
In a $30 set.
I'd say 30. It can't be any more than 30, because I don't think it would be justifiable enough to have it over 30. You know, it's a pretty small size starship per scale of what Fox is like. You would have Star Fox and maybe Peppy. You would not have Falco in it. Falco would be in a different aspect. But you have, you could even do Slippy. You can do whoever. But it wouldn't be Falco, it wouldn't be Wolf, but I think having that, and then with the ability to turn its wings into legs, that has to happen. In terms of turning into a tank, I think that's a bit much, a little bit much to pull off. I mean, if they could, that'd be great. But that's what I would say for a $30 set, akin to a Star Wars starfighter of some kind, something like that.
Well, and that's the tricky part for me, because I have an R-Wing in my lineup as well, but it's in a much more expensive bracket, specifically because I think people have gotten so used to starfighters being from the Star Wars line and being these $80, $90, 900-piece sets. Yeah. So in my brain, I was thinking the swing wing function, much akin to the U-Wing that they had that worked very well. Something along those lines. But I can see how you could do that in a $30 set, because you look back to the very first X-Wing, and that was right around that price point.
Yeah.
So,
which inflation? Oh boy. Woo-wee. Wow. That's a big difference from what it is now. But that's bound to happen. For the $40, $50, $60, I think any higher than $60, you're getting into a different bracket. I mean, they're gonna have, you know, licensing tax on there. They're gonna put a couple more dollars on it if they wanted to, but I don't know where the cutoff would necessarily be for something like that. But
I
What do
mean,
you
as
have?
far as like $30, I have, we have seen in the past larger 4+ sets. I put for $30, I put the 4+ Mario Kart set, has 4 carts. You have your Lakitu cameraman, and then also do something more with what you have available. So I was thinking back when I was a kid, there was a dragster race truck set, which was really cool because it included a base plate and then it showed you instructions on how to turn the box into a ramp. And I was thinking it would be awesome to have this, $30 4+ Mario Kart set, have a great way to get some interesting characters in there. But not only that, but also you flip the instructions over and you have Rainbow Road. You cut the box in half with parents' assistance, and now you have a ramp. You can race all of your guys down. Pretty simple. Again, because it's 4+, $30 is really not outrageous. A lot of the 4+ stuff is a little bit pricier based on the number of pieces.
Yeah.
But it would be a more simplistic build, specifically for that age. $50, I put in the Animal Crossing default home.
Oh, man.
So I
man.
love any time we have just a standard house.
Yep.
3-in-1 houses are one of my favorite things because you can build 3 of the same, buy 3 of the same set and build it 3 different ways, and you have 3 completely different houses. And so having kind of like a $50 Animal Crossing house, you have your default villager with a male and female head, 2 different heads, so you can make it yourself. Include like a Tortimer and a Tom Nook figure. We'll save Isabelle for another project down the line. But just something where you have instructions to do it multiple ways. I think it would be really fun because you have kind of that very classic home building from Animal Crossing combined with the creativity of Lego. You have a great combination there.
So that would be one of mine as well for a Wave 1. What a function of it would be that they would demonstrate on the box, because they don't do this often, but when they do it, it's executed very well. It's when they show, okay, here's if you bought multiple of them, because in Animal Crossing, obviously, you have more rooms and stuff.
Yeah.
But no matter what, you just see the one singular. It looks like one big room because it's a square no matter what. So they would show in the instructions, here's how you can basically chop a second house in half and attach it onto and build onto it. So that'd be very modular in that sense. And having the way Animal Crossing working being like you can have a ton of different types of furniture, different themes that all kind of work together. You can customize things. You can really play into that. And, who's to say they wouldn't have a printed, reminiscing from the GameCube days, a printed NES console, because they had like emulation on Animal Crossing. It's just called Animal Crossing from way back then. But that would be something cool that they could do, little Easter eggs, different furniture. I would say they do Tom Nook and Mr. Rossetti as a figure, because Rossetti is obviously who you get if you reset your game without saving. So he would be in there.
He has haunted my dreams.
Yes.
For years.
And mine as well. And rightfully so. Rightfully so.
He's terrifying.
He's very terrifying.
He's very frightful.
But I think Rossetti would be very good to have in that set. And, yeah, Isabelle would probably be for something else. Save her there. Do you think there's going to be, spoiling to Wave 2, I guess, would there be another set for Animal Crossing, or is that it?
I personally didn't have a second one in the second wave, only because depending on the timetable, it's taken us this long to get, is it New Leaf?
No, this is New Horizons.
New Horizons. It's taken us this long to get New Horizons. I don't know if it would coincide with the release. But again, one of the nice things about Lego is that you can build and rebuild again.
Yeah.
And having a house at that $50 mark that is modular is nice even for people who are not Nintendo fans or Animal Crossing fans. And it's, there's really no violence in Animal Crossing, so it's very easy to say, oh, you want to build houses for your city. Well, how about an Animal Crossing house?
And you
don't even have to use the figures,
right.
But you could absolutely just keep on building, and you can build a whole neighborhood of very similar houses. You could maybe even do something like, not necessarily blind bags, but extra packs with extra furniture, stuff like that. You could have a lot of fun with the customization of the interior design, because that was the best thing about the original Animal Crossing on the GameCube, was feeling like you were an interior designer.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think there would be a second set as well, just because Animal Crossing, it has its iconic buildings and structures, but it's more so about the characters and what the game is. And even with New Horizons, you're not even in a house. You're in like a tent, really, to start at least. We don't know any information about it. The game comes out in 2 months. So who knows? At the time of this recording, at least. So, you can have other characters like KK Slider be in there. I mean, there has to be a figure of him because he's just really cool. I don't know how you would do that or where you would do that, but that's the thing.
And every once in a while, Lego surprises us with the new poly bags they come out with.
Yeah.
I was at Walmart yesterday, and they had a $5 Trolls poly bag that I ended up buying because it had the little music notes in it. It had the balalaika or whatever the instrument is that she's playing on the lute. So we might just get a KK Slider with his guitar.
That'd be cool.
And a tree with a little beehive, because something like that is very in line with the kind of stuff that you're doing in Animal Crossing.
For the other $40 set I had in mind, again, a situation where it's one and done, they have to do it. It would be one of two things that I don't know what idea would be better. It would be a Metroid set. It would involve Samus, and it would either be Samus with her gunship or Samus and Ridley as a buildable, big, not quite Bionicle type thing, but a buildable, articulated figure, not one mold to be all sorts of pieces and whatnot, because Ridley is huge.
And we've done articulated figures very well in the past. Looking back at some of the Marvel stuff they did, they had Fenrir, the giant wolf with those ball joints. I think something like that on that scale would work very well.
So even you could, I'm thinking Ridley would be like a lot bigger.
Oh, absolutely.
But if you had even like a scale like Fenrir in that sort of scale, like not quite huge, but bigger than a standard
bigger
figure,
than a standard minifigure.
You have that along with Samus's gunship and Samus. I think that is the definitive Metroid set. You're done. Like, you don't really need to do anything else.
I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, I have something similar. I just separated it differently.
Sure.
I was thinking more of a UCS feel for Samus's gunship.
Sure.
I don't know how many hardcore Metroid fans there are out there.
Yeah.
I'm a much bigger Metroid fan than a lot of other, licenses out there. So for me, something like that would be a blast.
Yeah.
But
so that's 40 and 50. Now for the next price point, it goes up to like 70, 80, not quite 100. It's like that higher price range there. Let me start with mine because you already kind of touched on this idea. I think you could absolutely go for an $80 Mario Kart set and have just a ton of characters in their carts and different vehicle types and all that in that set. You can have whatever course, draw from a hat, whichever one you want. Obviously, Rainbow Road being the most iconic, but it could even be a situation, wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you have all different courses, 5 different courses, or you make, over 4 years, you have 4 different courses, make one cup. So I believe that's what the situation would be. People would absolutely buy an $80 Mario Kart set that has a lot of detail to it. In terms of the track, I think that they would just have the standard base plates that they sell at the store now. Hey, you can combine a bunch of these to make a big race course, or find some way akin to what Connects has done with making these, these courses, but, you keep them in line with some rails, and I don't really know how you would do that. But if anything, just making it so the carts themselves along with the characters would be enough, and some environmental things too, whatever course they decide to do, would be enough for a $80 Mario Kart set.
And I think that something that Lego has kind of poked into a little bit, especially with the Hidden Side theme that's done very well, is some kind of augmented reality.
Yeah.
Nintendo is pushing into the mobile games market now. They have a couple of, pretty solid games out there, on the App Store and such. So it might be really interesting to see something like an augmented reality Mario Kart game combining with something like that.
Yeah.
Where you can put all of them, out, and then when you look at your phone, it shows you the racetrack around it, and you're bringing the Lego into this virtual world.
Yeah. So for yours, what did you have akin to like 70, 80-ish, sub 100?
So for Wave 1, the only one that I have at the $70 range is the Odyssey.
At 70?
At 70.
Ooh, okay.
So
that would be my 100.
I'm thinking more playset scaled, definitely more on the smaller side. But as far as price per piece, wanting to keep it consistent, You know, it would come with Mario. You'd have Cappy. You'd have an interior. You'd have a hat rack of some kind where you can put a couple of the other ones on there. Again, I haven't gotten super far into Super Mario Odyssey, at least not as far as I'd prefer to get. But obviously, the first moment that, you know, you take off in the Odyssey, I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
You know, it was one of those ships, kind of like the Millennium Falcon. You see it and you're like, that is fantastic. That is gold right there.
Yeah.
So.
I agree. At only the $100 price point, I think it has to be just a little bit bigger in scale. As you go through your adventure, you're going to get more things that go inside of the Odyssey. There are different stickers that go on the outside of it as well. So it's basically like bumper stickers that you can attach all around to the sides there. I don't know if they would include those. I think someone would make them.
I think that Lego would. So
Really?
so this year in particular, Lego's been doing quite a few sets that include extra stickers that are not listed in the instructions. So sticker sheets for multiple of the Ninjago sets have additional bumper sticker style stickers, all different emoticons that you can slap anywhere on, you know, the vehicles and stuff like that. So I can absolutely see Lego doing something like that, including your standard sticker sheet, and at the bottom of it you put the stickers from, you know, the other worlds, wherever you want on the outside.
The difference there, I mean, Lego doesn't do this, but with the Odyssey build, the stickers would have to go over multiple pieces because of the way that it's built. Unless they get that cylindrical shape, like perfectly with just a few pieces, it would have to be, you know, the whole body would be multiple pieces, like, you know, a couple hundred pieces overall. So those stickers would have to overlap multiple pieces. So Lego doesn't do that. They like to have it one surface, one sticker, whatever. But I don't think that's legal by Lego standards, so that would be something you'd have to apply to yourself. If not, someone else would make them a custom
Last
person.
time they did something like that, and Lego did it, was, I believe, the first Jabba sail barge. It was before they had a 2x3 tile, and you had a 2x2 tile and a 1x2 tile, and they were stuck together using a sticker.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
And there was a handful of them in that set that were done like that, which was very alien to me, because like you said, I would have thought that was some kind of illegal technique.
Right. Fair enough. But yeah, I would have that at the 100. You include Mario with Cappy, and if anything, you can also include the captain's hat that you get in the Fossil Kingdom. What's it called? No, is it the Fossil Kingdom?
It's the very first area.
The second area.
Oh, it's the second? Oh, yes.
Technically second area. But yeah, that one where it has the captain's hat with the Cappy eyes. If anything, the Cappy eyes maybe could even be attachable so you can take them off, and because obviously Mario plays the game with just, you know, his standard hat showing, and then the eyes come out at some point there. But you would include that, and then a couple of different color power moons just for the sake of having them. I think riddled throughout these Mario sets, you're going to have things like shine sprites, power stars, power moons, just different colors, shapes, sizes, whatever, scattered throughout. We already have a star piece from the Lego Movie 2 line, so that just makes sense. But that would be for 100, at least for me. For 80, for me, yeah, it would be Mario Kart. So do you have a $100 set in mind?
I do. I was going to say real quick, with that one, would you want to do Bowser in his white tuxedo as a big fig?
I don't think you make that in general.
Really?
No, I think Bowser, like, is big enough that he would be in his own set of some kind as a big fig, but you know, we only have Hulk in multiple sets over the course of a couple years at this point. Like, I don't think Wedding Bowser is necessarily iconic enough unless you throw in Peach and Bowser as well, and then you're talking probably 120 for the big fig Bowser and Peach. And I'm just thinking, like, if they're including a couple of figures and, you know, on like keeping it at exactly 100. But I mean, obviously, I'd love if Bowser and Peach were in, of course. But that's where I would draw the line there. No Wedding Bowser, but standard Bowser definitely in another set.
Yeah. Let's see. So at $100, I hadn't. Zelda is very near and dear to my heart.
Sure.
I hadn't listed anything so far, but I think, you know, $100 Hyrule Castle playset would be a really good price point to get everything that you need to have that full experience. You know, you could wait for it to come out on the anniversary of Ocarina of Time and have some of those classic figures. You know, you'd have your Link, your young Link, your Zelda, Sheik, Ganon, maybe a buildable Beast Ganon along the same lines of what we were describing before, where it's that minifigure scale. But but something that would really do it justice.
Yeah.
Have it be an actual play set. You know, Lego's done plenty of Princess Castles through the years and reissues of Princess Castles, and I think that Legend of Zelda could have some real fun in there. Maybe even include a couple enemies.
Yeah.
Just for the heck of it. Include Ganondorf's horse, possibly. In that $100 bracket. I don't know. It seemed like it would be reasonable, and I can see a lot of people paying that for something, you know, that size. So
I may not be as big of a Zelda fan as a lot of you may be watching or listening, but trust me, there is something classic Zelda on my list for Wave 2, not for Wave 1, but very nice for a $100 set. Now we're just going to cut it at like 100 there, unless you have something that's like 120. Nope. Okay, cool. So now every wave seems to have a direct-to-consumer set, a big $200 plus set, whatever that may be. You know, again, Hogwarts Castle. We had the Joker Manor, Lego Batman movie, and we have the Lego movie with Metalbeard Sea Cow. So for the direct-to-consumer Nintendo set, Wave 1, are we in agreement that it's Peach's Castle? Because it better be.
Yeah,
okay,
I think we're in agreement.
Good. Okay, it has to be. My grand scheme that I've thought for many moons is that they would retire the Disney Princess Cinderella's Castle and then introduce Peach's Castle, because those two would be, quote-unquote, too similar to each other to be on the shelf at the same time. I'm thinking $350. I'm thinking thousands of pieces, obviously, based off of the design from Mario Odyssey, but in implementing more characteristics from Mario 64, because obviously the Odyssey one draws from 64, but in terms of the structure, the aesthetic, it would reflect Mario Odyssey. You know, you could see, I guess, a wedding suit Bowser in that one, but would Bowser appear in another set in Wave 2? You know, like who knows? So I would say for the interior, you base a lot of it off of Mario 64.
And that's exactly what I was thinking. So I haven't obviously reached, you know, the Mushroom Kingdom yet in Odyssey, but, you know, for me thinking about the, you know, the classic Peach's Castle, you know, I think about having, you know, multiple versions of Mario that are exclusive to this set. So particularly basing off of Super Mario 64, you have your Metal Mario, your Flying Mario, and your Vanishing Cap Mario, which something like the Vanishing Cap would be a lot of fun. Do a transparent with like the kind of speckled printing to show him being able to like move through these walls. And then like you were saying, like the interior of it being very based off of that Super Mario 64, just for nostalgia's sake, having the sunburst pattern on the floor in the lobby, having a door with a little room with the Bob on Battlefield portrait up on the wall, having the infinite staircase where you could even do something fun with a little Technic, almost a escalator style mechanism, something like that. You could have a lot of fun with that.
You have Princess Peach's Secret Slide as a red slide piece that goes around the right side of the castle. I'm thinking like dimensions-wise similar to Cinderella's castle, if not ideally a little bit bigger in my opinion. I'd love to have that. The stained glass piece at the front, as much as we'd want that made out of pieces, I think it's just going to be a sticker over a clear, you know, wall.
And that would look so much better.
Yeah, like that's just
honestly.
fine, you know, whatever. Because having that sort of brick detail out of that mosaic sort of style, it'd be very tough to do.
And again, you see a lot of people out there that put LEDs in their sets these days, that they're displaying some of these larger sets like the Hogwarts Castle. The LEDs look really good, and having a sticker over a transparent window pane, I think the light would shine through that fantastically.
Yeah. So there would be that. Figures, obviously. I would say Mario, standard Mario. Metal Cap Mario, I would go for. The only one I wouldn't think would be in there is a Vanishing Cap. I have the least experience with the Vanishing Cap in terms of my gameplay that I've ever done. I don't know what one people use more often, but with the Metal Mario, I've seen Metal Mario appear more so in, like, you know, Mario Kart. There's like a Metal Mario character, yeah, but you also have Rose Gold, Pink Gold, Peach. So, you know, hey, there's a bit of a difference there. But with that set as well, you have notice throughout all of these sets we've said so far, no Luigi made any of these sets so far, so maybe you even have Luigi. I think you have Yoshi in there as once you collect 120 stars, you get Yoshi on the roof. You obviously get Princess Peach. You get Toadsworth.
You have to.
Like,
yes.
But not necessarily. They haven't had Toadsworth in a while, man. They haven't shown off Toadsworth, and it's very disappointing. But I like Toadsworth.
Big
And
love for Mr. Toadsworth.
do you include Bowser in this set?
I
Big
would
question.
not.
Okay.
No, but only because of second wave.
Sure.
And
So,
what you would potentially be including in the second wave
so no Bowser this wave from either of us.
from me.
Yeah. I think the wing cap could be very doable. Maybe it would be a situation where Mario has a standard cap that has pins in it already, and you can just adjust it otherwise. But
I mean, he's, I believe, wearing the wing cap on the cover of
He
the
is,
North
yes.
American N64 copy. So
he is.
that's pretty iconic. Like you were saying before, I think the Metal Mario, just do the Mario, but just do a pearlescent
Yeah.
silver paint
Totally.
job. That's very easy.
Yeah, and you have a couple of Toad in there because obviously based off the castle. You could have other miscellaneous characters that are friendlies of the Mushroom Kingdom from whatever game they want to base it off of. 64, Sunshine Odyssey. There's lots of friendlies that they could just have lurking around there. Different color Toads, whatever. But that is the dream. That is the ultimate. If you see that set actually come out, call the coroner. I'm dead. Assume all my assets have been liquidated and I'm gone, because that would be phenomenal. So I can only hope that would actually come to fruition. I haven't seen many people make a custom of it either. I don't know if you've seen any across the internet. I haven't seen people make that.
Peach's Castle?
Yeah.
I have not. I haven't seen a ton of Mario stuff in Lego. I've seen plenty of custom minifigures of
Sure.
just Mario, but as far as the locations, I think that is ripe for the taking with the number of bosses out there that you could very easily do. But yeah, I haven't seen a whole lot.
Which is kind of surprising.
Yeah.
But I think it's tough to do in general without custom molds, without a lot of
Absolutely.
yeah. So the heads, and I've seen people try to make Kirby, and it's like, that's not great. So that's I'm glad we're in agreement of that first wave D2C. We'll break this up with the minifigure series that would come out to exemplify waves 1 and 2, again akin to Harry Potter. Now for this, we may be in disagreement here. I don't know. I've said that it would be a Super Smash Brothers series of figures.
I think that would be the smartest thing to do, because in my list in particular, there are characters where the games are not necessarily popular enough to warrant even having a $15 set, but there are going to be people out there who want a minifigure of their favorite character.
Yeah.
And that's the great thing about some of those minifigure sets out there, is there's a way for you to get a character that maybe didn't have a lot of screen time, or maybe was not a main character in the series. Any of the DC ones in particular, we have minifigures of characters that people never thought we would ever have a Lego minifigure of, simply because it's been put into this mystery minifigure pack.
Sure.
So
I guess we could go through our own individual list, but I think that a lot of ours cross over.
it's possible, yeah.
I would say 20 figures is a good number. That's
Absolutely.
a third of a Smash Ultimate roster. So there you have that. I mean, I would say, toss in there Luigi with the Poltergust.
I think you could even do, that's actually the first one on my list, is Gooigi.
Gooigi.
With the Poltergust. Because if you already have a Luigi from another set, it would be fun to get something directly tying in. And it could even be the standard Poltergust. That way you could upgrade your normal Luigi to have one.
Right.
But I think that would be really fun. Or even do, if not Gooigi, do an alternate face Luigi, molded head, not a standard minifigure head, of him with that horrified expression that he kind of dons in Luigi's Mansion.
Mm-hmm.
Very...
Right. Freaking out.
Just freaking out, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be
Just
awesome.
totally out of his element, but going for it anyways.
So why don't you go through your list, and then if I have any exceptions or things to change, just so because we could do this section for another
absolutely.
40 minutes.
So I believe I have 20 on my list.
Sure.
You can correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
Or you can add one in.
Yeah,
Who
sure.
knows? So yeah, I have Gooigi with the green Poltergust. I have Fire Mario with the fireball pieces where you squeeze on them, they pop out. So it'd be a recolor of that. Have Nana and Popo as two separate characters. You have Nana with the icicle, Popo with the rope. You have Falco in here with his blaster, because Falco's a fan favorite. You have Marth and Roy with their swords, going all the way back to Super Smash Bros. Melee, the second Smash Brothers, where we didn't even know who these characters were over here in the West.
Do you have the sword fighters just with their sword, or are you including some items alongside these characters?
So that's a really tricky thing, is the only significant difference between those two, if you were to have them as minifigures, is possibly their hair.
Yeah.
The swords are technically different, but I don't know if
They're
you'd be able to feel, and I don't know if they would even do molded.
I don't think they would.
They probably wouldn't. I mean, they both have capes. You
Yeah.
could do multiple expressions, front and back of the head. You have Ness with the baseball bat.
Of course.
I think this would be a great place to do some of that Earthbound Onett play, because aside from my brother, not many people have played through the Mother games compared to a lot of other Nintendo properties.
Yeah.
The only reason they know about these is specifically because of Super Smash Brothers.
Totally.
And having something like him in there with the baseball bat is great. Because again, with all these, I want to do a different accessory. So if you're feeling through them like I do, because I'm an insane person and I hate myself, and I want a complete set, I'm going to feel through all of them.
Right.
I'm not going to buy them from somebody else who's opened them already. I also have Pit with his bow and the wings. That would be a pretty simple one. Maybe just a new mold for the hair. Everything else they've already done.
And people that don't care about Nintendo at all, they can have a free angel.
Exactly. And who's going to say no to that?
Right.
I mean, you're doing a Christmas tree. You want something on top. There you go. You have an angel now.
Perfect.
I put in Little Mac with the boxing gloves. I mean, you could do something else with that, but I think having a boxer character again with those boxing gloves would be fantastic.
Yep.
I missed out the first time. I regret it ever since. You could do Shulk with his sword. That would have to be a new piece. His sword is
Minato.
It's pretty fancy.
Yeah,
it's
it
pretty
is.
distinctive.
Definitely.
But again, that would be a great one. That could be a really cool piece. I put in a female Inkling with the Ink Blaster. That's pretty iconic as far as one of those newer Nintendo properties that we haven't necessarily seen a lot of. We could have Dr. Mario with his pill. That's easy enough. You have the 1x2 with the rounded edges, have two different color 1x1, where it's the half circle in two different colors. And then you also have your Mario with your cool little headband, the Wii Fit trainer with a hula hoop. Just do a pretty typical recolored minifigure.
Right.
We have a hula hoop like piece from that Quidditch match set that would fit very well. Dark Samus from Metroid Prime 2. You could even include a Metroid with her. Might be a nice, easy, cheap way if you want to get a bunch of Metroids for your own Metroid mock or whatnot. Keep the AFOLs happy. You could do Robin with his spell book, because they've done the book piece in the past in these kind of sets, and it would be great to have another wizard outfit for your minifigures. I put Rosalina with Luna, because again, if we're going to be using those star pieces, what better to use it for than a character who has that star piece? Captain Olimar, I would love to see more use of the fishbowl headpiece. And then you could have your red, blue, and yellow Pikmin, which we've had those micro figures in different colors before. It'd be easy enough. And then Dark Link would be a great one with the sword and shield. And then I also put in Isabelle with her clipboard, just a 2x2 printed piece, molded head.
Isabelle, I'd say, with the fishing rod.
Ooh,
yeah.
Even better, yes.
Yeah. We haven't had a Lego fishing rod in a while, I feel like.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I know there is currently a fishing boat out there, like a shark fishing boat.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure what it comes with. It's been a while since I took a good long look at it.
Yeah.
But
And then, you can add, for when eventually they're going to add Steve and Alex into Minecraft, or rather from Minecraft into Smash, then you can have them all lined up just like that and work really well.
there you go.
I was tempted to say, they should put Banjo-Kazooie in that minifigure line, but that wouldn't work. Not a Nintendo character. It's definitely not. So
That is rare, unfortunately. And that was the tricky thing too, is there were a lot of characters that I would
can't touch.
love to see in minifigure form, but
we already have Sonic.
we do have Sonic. No, that's a very good point. It would be great to have another Sonic, because for those of us who weren't really into Dimensions when it first came out, it would be great to have that second chance. But again, I have personal fan favorites. We're never going to get a Bayonetta. We're never going to get, Solid Snake, unfortunately. And some of the other characters I also did kind of save for Wave 2. But
Sure.
figure it would be a nice opportunity to get some of those alternate costumes, because Mario's constantly changing what he's wearing.
Yeah.
You could even do a Mario in there with the fox tail
Yes, the Tanuki
flying-
tail.
Yep, the Tanuki
Tanuki.
tail.
I mean, I would probably toss in Wario and Waluigi in there just for the sake of it. I know that they might be in a set that some of you might have in mind or would want to see, but I think on their own, you have maybe the standard WarioWare version of Wario and standard Waluigi, but the regular Wario that we know that is yellow and purple, he might be in another set that is featured alongside Mario eventually, but I would say those two would be very, very highly sought after. Other exception I would make is throwing in Wolf in lieu of one of the Fire Emblem characters, just because.
Okay.
I think Wolf is popular enough that he could be in there. You know, and this is not factoring in, you can't have characters like Pikachu or Ivysaur or Mewtwo. You know, maybe I think they would not do Mr. Game & Watch. As much as I'd love that, I think Game & Watch as a, like you would brick build that, or he'd be like a, I don't even know how you would do Mr. Game & Watch.
I think they would do something where you would basically build a little version, and they would include a light brick behind it.
Yeah.
That would cast a shadow onto whatever arena you'd want to be building.
Yeah.
You could get some really interesting, stuff going on there with the pan and the sausages, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
that would be for the minifigure series. That's the only exceptions I would make.
no, I like those, especially if you were to pull out Martha and Roy and maybe substitute Ike or someone who is by themselves. And then, I think Wolf would probably be a great addition, especially if you're not going to be doing a lot with Star Fox.
Yeah, totally. So that's the Wave 1. That's the minifigure series. Wave 2, similar idea. You know, a $10 or $15 set, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and then a D2C to end it off. Obviously, they would have more waves after this because in Nintendo, Lego sets would sell like hotcakes, as we know. But, we're just thinking hypothetically for Wave 2. Now, Wave 1, a lot of heavy hitters. Okay, now how do you follow up with Wave 2? What is the small $10 or $15 set you had in mind for that one?
So, second wave, I was thinking if somehow Game Freak were to pull away from Mega Constructs and Lego were to get the license, you have a Pokemon starter set. It's $15, and they're small, buildable to minifigure scale. Charmander, Bulbasaur, Squirtle, and then a buildable Pokeball to go with it. Just something so that, if you already have a Lego city, you can now turn it in. You can build your own Poke Center, stuff like that. But again, that's kind of a long shot. Lego has, they still don't have the license, and Mega Constructs has done a pretty reasonable job with the stuff that they have come out with.
Yeah, totally.
Aside from that, I was thinking maybe a $15 Pikmin battle pack. Because Pikmin is a bit tricky. You have fans who aren't going to pay a lot for something, or even people who aren't diehard fans. $15 for a battle pack is not bad if you're trying to be a collector and collect everything from the Lego world of Nintendo. In that scenario, you'd have Olimar, you'd have Louie for your player 2, and then you'd include 3 Pikmin of various colors, and then instead of some kind of catapult or anything like that, you would include a spaceship part for your little Pikmin to carry on their heads.
Ooh.
So, something
Very
fun,
nice.
maybe a little different. So
I had a little bit of trouble with the $10 and $15 line. What I would like to see that, I don't know, I guess this would work. This is where I would definitively put a ghost-themed set, spooky set with Luigi, with the Poltergust, and you have Boo, and you have a few of the ghosts based off of Luigi's Mansion 3 in that art style. You have the most standard blue ghost. You have the beefier red ghost. You make it basically a spooky pack. You have Luigi with the brick built Poltergust, or it could be its own piece. I guess maybe you could put Luigi in there if you really wanted to, but I think that Luigi with the ghosts, especially with just standard Boo, would be great to have as a buildable pack and expound upon it. So you can never have enough Boo if you're making a Luigi's Mansion thing.
Absolutely.
Or Ghost. Luigi is obviously going to be the repeat character, but he's just cool. And a lot of these packs in general have one figure where you're like, oh, well, I don't want multiple of them, but I guess I have to if I'm going to get, a ton of them. So that would be especially cool. I would love to see like a bigger Luigi's Mansion set, but I don't know if that would be possible or feasible. And
I think you could see something like that several years down the line.
Yeah.
Just because I remember when the original Star Wars line came out in 99, and there were so many people saying, oh, what if they were to do this? What if they were to do that? And everybody at the time was like, well, no one's going to buy that. And here we are with the largest Lego set ever built being 7,541 pieces.
Yeah.
And nobody expected that. But here we have it. So
Right.
you never know. We might at some point have a modular Luigi's Mansion where you build all the rooms, you swap them out
That'd be
with each
sick.
other.
It'd be so cool.
You have your little, what's his name, the doctor?
Egad.
Egad.
Yeah.
Exactly. You could, and that's the thing. It might be after Wave 2, but you could have something like that, definitely.
Yeah. And I mean, Luigi's Mansion 3 is probably going to sell better than the original. 2 is not as well remembered as 1 or now 3. So the hotel is obviously Luigi's Mansion 3. You played through that?
I have not.
Ah, come on.
Not yet.
You're killing me. But that is what I would say for a small $15 set. I think at some point they're going to do a retro pack of some kind. So if they made a Mario pack where it was him in like the not quite black and white, obviously, because he wasn't in black and white, but like he's in that tan and dark brown type color as he was on the NES version of the game.
Yeah, I always think of that one as the Nintendo Power cover.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure that was the first issue Nintendo Power was
Yes.
Mario in that alternate color scheme.
Yeah, so I think there'd be a small pack like that involving some like retro characters, and if they somehow made it where it was like the minifigures and other characters in there would be more 8-bit, or in some way just made it look super retro classic like that.
Yeah.
That's what I would say for the other $15 one. So for $20, I don't know what I have. I can't remember off the top of my head, if I'm being totally transparent with you.
I was going to say,
So
definitely check your notes.
yeah, right.
You know.
I don't know what you have that you want to toss in.
So, in the past, we've seen some of these slightly larger sets that also act as battle packs, and I was thinking this might be a great opportunity to get in there with the various races that you see in Hyrule and the Zelda games. Have a $20 Hyrule battle pack where you have your Goron, Big Fig, a Rudo Warrior, a Gerudo Scout, and then maybe like a Soraya the Kokiri with her Ocarina piece. And with something like Soraya, it's easy enough. You can create a whole village of Kokiri just swapping out the heads. Anything like that. And then, you'd have additional attachment points on these figures where you could give them, extra gills. You could give them an instrument. You could give them a hat.
Right.
Anything like that where it's kind of a villager builder, which I won't go too much more into because I don't want to,
Sure.
kind of get ahead of myself. But I think that might be a fun $20 set. I know anybody who uses their Lego for Dungeons and Dragons or anything like that always likes to have interesting characters, interesting molds, interesting colors. And I think, anything Nintendo is also going to have those exact things. Another $20 one I had was Dreamland from Kirby.
Oh,
because we haven't really touched on Kirby too much.
Yeah.
And I love Kirby. So I was thinking, some kind of Dreamland where you have Kirby, Meta Knight, Waddle Dee, and then you have like a Dreamland stage with the little clouds. And then you have like your Wispy Woods tree, brick belt. Just a really cute, fun little centerpiece. Nothing too extravagant, anything like that.
Yeah.
Maybe an alternate print piece of his head, kind of like we've had in Unikitty sets before, where she'll have two different heads. Maybe one of it with him with his eyes closed, with him, sucking stuff in for some fun play feature or something like that. I think $20 would be doable for something like that. And again, the Waddle Dee, the Kirby and the Meta Knight all have a similar body structure, so it'd be easy to do the same kind of printed piece with just different prints on them. So
that I had for a $30 set. It would definitively be Wispy Woods with Kirby, Waddle Dee as a character instead of Meta Knight, and maybe King Dedede if he wouldn't be in like the minifigure series or something else. Because, his relationship to Kirby, he's sometimes a bad guy, sometimes a good guy. He's playable, he's not playable. So I don't know if you would include him in that set, but you could include lots of other smaller enemies too.
Yeah, I could see him as a Big Fig very well.
Yeah,
just
definitely.
because of his proportions, I think he would fit very well in a Big Fig, which you're not really going to see in a minifigure series, but something like a Wispy Woods, I think it would be a perfect opportunity to put him in a $30 set with a technically low piece count, but you include him, and it it makes sense.
Now, the set that you had talked about before, that was a $50 or $40 set with the Legend of Zelda set, that Showdown. There was a couple years ago at this point, a Lego Ideas set that did not get approved based on Ocarina of Time, young Link facing off against Ganondorf, I believe, in like the small setting reminiscent of the $20 Indiana Jones set with the Ark of the Covenant. That sort of battle scene sort of thing. That's what I would have for a $20/$30 set. So it would involve pots that are breakable at the halfway point, so like you could just knock it over and like clink, it just kind of comes apart. You have little rupees that are all throughout inside of there. I am not familiar with those games as much, so that would be tough for me to really expound upon. But I think having young Link and Ganondorf as two figures in there would be appropriate. And then if there are any other characters that need to be in there, maybe you have like a printed translucent thing for Navi or something like that. But you can have a lot of little accessories in there and make a pretty like tight battle scene. It doesn't need to be anything too crazy, but just enough to get the point across. You get Ganondorf.
And that's the thing is, even in the first in Ocarina of Time, when you see Ganondorf coming out, there's like a dream sequence and he comes out on his horse and just rides past Link with Zelda under his arm. You could even do something like that, include the young Zelda in something like that, and then just have kind of a Hyrule Castle scene like you were saying with the pots.
Sure.
So
that's what I would have for my 20 or 30. I think that's a pretty good...
And that's absolutely something I would buy day one. Yeah.
It's in the same vein as the Guardian and whatnot. I mean, it's tough for me to say that Hyrule Castle would be a $100 set. I'm not familiar with a lot of the games and a lot of the material to really draw from. So you have an upper edge on that one.
And again, that would be the tricky thing is I feel like the Hyrule Castle from Ocarina of Time is much more iconic than the one from Twilight Princess. But in Twilight Princess, you're seeing the interior far more than you ever did in Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time, it was basically just a stealth mission through the gardens.
Yeah.
You could even do something like we were discussing before with Princess Peach's castle, wherein you have just kind of inspirational meshing of the best of both worlds, where you have an interior where you do have villains and stuff like that. You have your bokoblins and your things like that you wouldn't typically have in another set.
So for now, the 40-50, I kind of drew my best cards with the Samus's gunship. I don't think they would do any more sets based on those properties, just because you don't need to. Like, the environments are cool in the games themselves, but in terms of iconic things that you can draw from, Samus's gunship is great. You have the R-Wing. The only exception would maybe be like a Corneria for Star Fox, but I don't think they'd make a larger scale set of that. And this is also a really tough list to do without Pokemon, because that is Mega Constructs. And their marketing is entirely separate. A lot of what they do is entirely separate from anything Lego does in general. So it's really tough to draw upon that. For a $50 set, you don't really need to do anything else with Animal Crossing, I don't think.
I think that the one standalone is good enough to kind of exemplify the spirit of the whole series.
Now, if you really wanted to do a Captain Olimar set with the spaceship, it could be a $40 set if you include Olimar, Louis, all of the different variant Pikmin types, and a couple of the other captains. I'm unfamiliar with them, but those captains as well, that would be a pretty good one, but I don't know how well that would perform. That's the other thing with the list that we've come up with are also lists that we think of things that will do well.
Absolutely.
Not just what we want, because it would be Paper Mario everything for me. It'd be Kirby everything, but that's not practical. That's not what's going to sell.
And that's it. Like I look at my $30 section in Wave 2, and it's like I have Jungle Japes. You have a working barrel cannon. I've never been any good at Donkey Kong games. My brother loves them. He thinks about Nintendo. He thinks about Donkey Kong, so you have your banana bunches, your tree house, you have Donkey Kong as a big fig with Diddy Kong in a $30 set. I was thinking $30 set for Wave 2 would be the Breath of the Wild horse stable You have an interesting exterior with some like fabric pieces.
Okay. Yeah.
You have Epona, Link, Gerudo Warrior. I'm thinking more along the lines of those like $30 Star Wars sets that we get that are like Ben's hut, Yoda's hut,
Sure.
Things like that. And then in the $50 bracket is where I put my R-Wing
Really?
for Wave 2.
Okay.
Just kind of looking at it in more along the lines of the way that Star Wars has done their Starfighters, where you have a combination of play features and still keeping it nice and sturdy, but also having enough detail where those people who only collect Star Fox memorabilia, I know you're out there.
They're somewhere.
I'm interested in meeting you because I want to see your collection because that sounds really cool.
Yeah.
But those people that want, a really highly detailed R-Wing, something like that, I think could be done in that $50 bracket where you have spring-loaded launchers, you have your swing wing, you have your Fox McCloud and Peppy Hair minifigures, just like what you were saying. And then I was thinking, again, because I am cursed with loving the Metroid series, in my $70 bracket is where I put the Samus's gunship.
Yeah.
Having a working elevator like the kind that we had in the Wrecking Ball set from Overwatch, where you just rotate it, she pops up out of the top like she does in the games. Again, this is kind of a pipe dream for me. This is one of those that probably would not be made $70 UCS style. I was thinking include, a seat where you can put Samus in there. You have your spring-loaded launchers that are hidden. You have her in her Zero suit and her power suit. You include the Metroid hatchling and then also the adult Metroid hatchling, which is just a larger version of it from Super Metroid. But again, that for me is only because Super Metroid is one of my favorite Nintendo games. So it just feels natural to want to include that as something in a Nintendo license.
Right.
Which, again, it might not be year 2, but if it were to be one of those things that they had for 20 years, I'd expect probably something at some point.
Yeah, definitely.
Based off of that. So
Splatoon is very popular.
And that's it. I have not played Splatoon. And that's the hardest part is it's based on, for me at least, I haven't seen the numbers of the most popular games out there. And because I've never played Splatoon, that really puts me at a disadvantage with this.
It put a lot of eyes on the Wii U briefly with Splatoon 1, and Splatoon 2 obviously does very well. I'd like to think there'd be a $40 play set either involving the standard mode where you're covering ink on the ground and you have some buildable structures, or you include a custom molded piece for my favorite mode, Rainmaker mode, which is basically where you have to take this golden gun that launches a big splat bomb, and like I'll show it to you afterward. It's pretty cool. It's like a gold piece. It's like a big fish. They would have that, and I'd like to think they'd have like printed splat pieces all over the ground. So you could even double that up for a Wave 3 Mario Sunshine sort of deal, where you have the ink splotted on the ground. You have the ink splotted on the ground like that.
I need a Lego Delfino Plaza in my life. I was thinking Delfino Plaza Lighthouse, maybe.
Oh, man.
I don't know. I mean, that's just me, but,
So those splat pieces would be used first in Splatoon, then carried over to Mario Sunshine. I'm surprised I haven't done that already, really.
And, just you talking about that makes me think back to the old Lego Games line that they had with the 6-sided dice with the different colors. It might be fun even to do a game with that, where you have an arena with 3-sided blocks where you have them white, and then you have your red Splatoon character, your blue, your Inklings, your blue Inkling, your red Inkling, and then you roll the dice to see whether or not you actually get to choose whether it turns blue or red or white, and then you can actually make a game out of it that adds a real play function to it.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go home and do that now.
It would include a bunch of Inklings in that way. For a Donkey Kong set, I'm thinking a little bit bigger with the idea of the Indiana Jones Temple of Doom minecart set, because obviously people love the minecart sections of Donkey Kong games. I think that's a must. You have Donkey, Diddy, Cranky.
I'm not that sadistic. So, but no, that was one of the things on my list that I ended up crossing out was using the new roller coaster pieces would be a perfect fit. Yeah.
So you have, I got Donkey, Diddy, Dixie, Cranky, and you have to have King K. Rool as the end of it there. It doesn't really make any sense in that sense, but having, all the Donkey Kong characters in one set, I think you could do a really killer $80 set. Even throw in Donkey Kong's hut from the beginning. you can mesh a bunch of things together, but having there has to be some minecart Donkey Kong action at some point happening. So,
and you can do a lot of cool stuff with those new roller coaster pieces
Absolutely.
too. You could even have your bananas floating above the track, and when the cart rolls over them, they flip underneath, and you can collect them at the end or something along those lines.
and they're making a Donkey Kong ride for Universal, right? Yeah, you do know.
Now
You
I
can't
do.
wait. Yeah, there you go. So if you fall off the tracks and you're no longer with us, because that's how it works in Donkey Kong.
Oh no.
You'll know why.
I was gonna say I certainly hope they have like safety nets or
No.
something. Okay.
No, you're gonna have to try to grab on for dear life.
That sounds like a great way to go.
it's a
I'm
great-
just gonna say.
absolutely,
Just have some banana pudding down there to land in.
absolutely, totally.
Smell like bananas for the rest of the year.
That's fine. That's totally fine.
What a pleasant musk you have.
Yeah. For a $60 set, just to kind of backtrack, and then we'll jump to the
Yeah.
hundreds on the D2C to cap it off. With the $60 set, I've long thought, and I think I've run by you a couple of times, that they would do a crafting box akin to Minecraft, except instead it's with Mario sets. So if you wanted to, you can make a 2D vignette of the classic Super Mario Bros. World 1-1, 1-2, whatever you want to do, combine them all in a row. So you'd include all the parts to make the standard brick pieces, the floor pieces, the mushroom. You have the classic Mario figure maybe in there. That's where you could do that.
So is this doing the minifigures in like a 16-bit style, or are you saying just like classic
So it would be
standard minifigures?
standard minifigures, but with the Mario style, the OG colors and all that. So you have all the classic pieces to make the bricks for the inside of the castle, and you can attach like the standard small 8-inch by 8-inch base plates and connect them all in a row. And you have basically, if you wanted to, put them on your wall and have this whole like wallpaper of all the different Mario
just
levels.
take my money.
Just do that.
Just stop talking. Take my money.
And if you have a crafting box sort of thing with 700 pieces, and let's say each brick that makes up a block in Super Mario Bros. Is like 3 pieces, well, then if you have a 900 thing set, that's 300 blocks that you can put in a set, and then you get a couple of those, you have so many possibilities.
It gives you a real Mario Maker feel to it.
Absolutely.
Also, obviously you could have your instructions for your World 1-1
Right.
and all that, but it would be really fun to have
Yeah.
the creative juices flowing in that way.
Yeah, and you could have like printed pieces for the Goomba or the Koopa or whatever, and you could really do something crazy with that. So that's what I would like to
Really
think for a
interesting mural building going on there.
Exactly. So that's what I'd hope for a 60. So the 100, the big hundo, I would say that's where I'd put the Hyrule Castle for year 2.
Okay.
I want to keep the focus on Peach's Castle. Don't take anything away from that. Not too many castles out at one time, but this would still be on the shelves. Peach's Castle's still there.
Yeah.
But with Hyrule Castle, you have basically just the facade. Nothing too incredible. I'm
Exactly.
thinking maybe even 120, 130, like the Haunted High School from Hidden Side. That sort of a deal.
Yeah.
Play features there. You have your standard Bokoblins, you have Moblins, whatever, standard Zelda stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing is with Zelda specifically, it's all about those environmental puzzles.
Yeah.
You could even include, very much like the Haunted High School from Hidden Side had, some really interesting play features in there where, in the Zelda ones, there would be like a tile with an eye on it. You shoot
Yeah.
it with an arrow and the door opens. You could have some really interesting, spring-loaded Technic kind of humdingery going on there.
Yeah, totally.
Where it is a fully functional play feature.
Yeah.
So
For your 100, what do you got?
for my 100, I don't know if we're gonna have the same thing in different places. But
Oh.
I put for my 100 Bowser's Lair.
Ooh.
So I'm thinking, when it came to the Disney castle, it was large, but it was very tall. It wasn't necessarily extremely wide. So with something like a Peach's Castle, it would be interesting to do a Bowser's Lair where you have the Bowser Big Fig, you have your Goombas, and you also have something where you can motorize it so that your thwomps are moving up and down. You have your platforms moving where you can have it automated, and not only that, but you can put it underneath Peach's Castle, have it act as a foundation piece, have it be actually weight-bearing, so you can have the whole thing displayed. So you have Bowser's Lair, and then on top of it, you have Peach's Castle, so you can have an entire Mario setup going on. Yeah, that's pretty much everything I had written down for that one, but
That
I think you go pretty hog wild.
You could, and man, if you had Pokemon, this would be so easy. This would be so easy. But that's your 120, 100, whatever, that ballpark. That's my 100. So the D2C, the big gun. What I would do, which I wouldn't even do Bowser's Castle, because we have too many. We have, Princess Peach's Castle. You have Hyrule Castle, Bowser's Castle. What's invading Peach's Castle? Bowser's airship. You have Bowser's airship. Joe's eyes just lit up like crazy. Bullet bills coming out of the side of there. Bowser as a big fig in the Koopa Clown car alongside Bowser Jr. A couple of Koopalings in there. You have Hammer Bro, Paragoomba, Paracoopa. You have the whole Kamek. You have the whole squad in there. It's a big, akin to Metalbeard's ship,
exactly
but
what
bigger.
I was thinking.
You have wings. You have, I'm thinking like Mario Galaxy, big propellers and
Get your paratroopas out on the sides.
And that's different enough from Peach's Castle. Obviously, it's still Mario, but I just don't think they're gonna do a Hyrule Castle to the same scale as Peach's Castle, because it wouldn't. I don't think it would sell as well. I don't think it's as iconic.
I don't think it's as much of a centerpiece of that world in general.
No, it's not. So, and again, that's with my limited Zelda experience, so I may be totally incorrect. But I think Bowser's airship, you blow that thing up like crazy. Like when I'm looking at Metalbeard's ship right now, it's a bit small in terms of surface area to put figures and whatnot. But, the beginning of Mario Odyssey starts off with Mario on Bowser's airship, and the airship is a reoccurring theme across multiple Mario games. It's where the final battle happens quite a few times. I think that makes the most sense if you were to not do a Bowser's Castle, which does make sense too.
Yes.
But if we have to limit the amount of castles there have to be, the airship, and you find a way to have that floating and invading on Peach's Castle, I think that as a centerpiece would be like, oh my Lanta, just like incredible, like super cool looking.
And you could even factor in some of those other large D2C sets. You said, Metalbeard, Sea Cow. The first thing I think of when you talk about propellers is the Avengers not Quinjet,
the helicarrier.
Helicarrier, and that thing had motorized. You could motorize the propellers on that. And that had a nice size footprint on it too.
Yeah, totally.
But I like that.
I'd love to have that.
And you could even include
scale.
those $20 bullet bills you could get individually. Yeah. You could have those up there.
If it weren't for that, I was going to say Luigi's Mansion from the original game, but I don't know if that would... we definitely need a haunted mansion. So I think from that aspect, a haunted mansion, that being it's a lot wider. It's more like a play set. Like the last one we got from Monster Fighters was too, but it was more of a vertical footprint than like a horizontal.
And with something like that, you could also do it where it is a square.
Yes.
So it's a square, it's completely enclosed, but then the back two walls open up and fold out to the side, so it can be nice and wide the way it appears in the game.
Yeah, right.
And then it's just a dollhouse on the back.
Right.
So you can show it off either of those two ways, having it really wide or having just kind of be a cube where it's closed in, kind of doing a Downton Abbey style building.
I don't know what else, just in terms of other sets before we wrap up here. I'd love to have like a Mario Sunshine Flood something. I don't know what set.
I would love anything Delfino Plaza. I think that there's like a real charm to that.
Yeah, totally.
It reminds me of, going way back, late 80s, early 90s, some of those sets where they were trying to get girls more interested in Lego that were still minifigure scale, where you had your outdoors restaurant, things like that, your lighthouses. Bless you. And for my D2C, I was kind of looking at some of the other direct-to-consumer sets that we've had in the past, and looking specifically at how well Minecraft has done in a Lego form. And one of the first ones we had was The Village. And, again, this might not happen year 2, but I think that something like a classic Ocarina of Time inspired Kakariko Village would be an excellent addition.
Yeah.
Just a ton of pieces. Have every house in the village where you can take off the roof and play inside. You'd have your stud launcher mini game area in the game. I'm pretty sure there was a I think you had to either use your slingshot or your bow, and you could like get them in there, and it would be a fun little play feature to have something where you rotate the crank and you're knocking stuff down with the stud launcher. You have your graveyard with your ghosts and Dompe the gravedigger's hut. You had an alternate thing you can pop over him and make him look like a ghost from when Link is an adult. You'd have your working windmill where you crank it and the windmill spins, and inside of there you'd have your windmill keeper who's all grumpy, who's cranking his little instrument real fast.
Yeah.
Because he's so angry that, you've played the Song of Storms. And then, of course, do like the House of Skulltula, where you have those little spiders, the Skulltulas. And it would be a great way to get a bunch of those. You can stick them all over the place. Like in the game, you have to break the curse by destroying those. I think something like that, if you were to do it at a condensed enough scale, could be a lot of fun. Even if you were to do a micro scale, possibly.
Yeah.
But you could have a really interesting layout there that would be a lot of fun to play with.
Yeah.
So,
any other sets that you had just like thinking of that wanted to throw in before we...
Oh, yes, of course. I'm glad you asked. I was going to say, because it's one of those things, when you're trying to fit them into the brackets, it's kind of hard, and if you were to do something like Captain Falcon.
Yeah.
F-Zero is a Nintendo staple, but it's not necessarily like there's a huge fandom out there. So you were to do a Blue Falcon with, Samurai Goro and Captain Falcon in there. Captain Falcon by himself in a... minifigure series would be kind of hard.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what accessory you would do with him. For me, my favorite Zelda game of all time is Wind Waker. I would love to see a King of Red Lions with
I thought
the
about
sail
doing that.
piece.
Yeah.
Maybe even do like the little mountain in the back with the dragon.
Yeah.
Sitting on top of the volcano, something like that. And in something like that with the Toon Link, I would love to see a molded head for Link in the style of the Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah.
That they've done before, where it's kind of wide, cartoonish, maybe even have a couple different expressions you can swap out on that. That would be a lot of fun. Or you could even have like the Bob-omb Battlefield, like the King Bob-omb. I would love just to have a giant Bob-omb with the crown and the great big mustache.
Right.
All those Mario characters, the villains in particular, just have so much character to them. It would be a lot of fun to have that as a buildable character. And I think we had discussed at one point about doing along the same lines of what you were saying with the Minecraft crafting box, doing something in Zelda where it's a shrine builder playset, where you have 5 different bags. Each of them has a different character. Each of them has different enemies or puzzles you can implement, and keeping it a low cost for a lot of pieces, and doing just your own dungeon builders playset. Anything like that is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So
I had a lot of set ideas that, I wish I could implement into the 2 waves. Obviously, something involving Yoshi's Island, Baby Mario. There's just so many characters that, are iconic in their own right, and you just couldn't fit into this 1 or 2 waves here. And I think it's something that would absolutely go for 2 or 3, 4 or 5 waves. I think it could be an evergreen thing for Lego, because there's so much to draw from Nintendo that applies to both fans of Lego, fans of Nintendo. It's not just one over the other, and it's something that's still pumping out great content that people like. And
I think the age range is right. You know, we're seeing a resurgence in adults becoming fans of Lego, spending tons of money on it because, it's a nice little fun escape. And Nintendo is one of those things, just like Lego, that has a lot of nostalgia. You have all these adults now who grew up in the 80s and the 90s who, may not have spent all that money back then, but now they are.
Yeah.
And I think it would be very smart.
We haven't even touched upon things like if they did like promotions or gift with purchase things, small micro sets and whatever. That's a whole other can of worms too. But for waves 1 and 2, 2 D2C sets, man, I'm looking forward to that Peach's Castle, man. I really want it. I want it. The airship I'm not as sold on, but that castle.
It's pretty awful. I'm really sold on that.
On the airship or the castle?
On the airship.
Oh, that's sick. It's really sick.
That's exciting.
Man, just seeing what people have created so far, like seeing how Lego would implement their own, master builder charm to it and refine it, and they have resources like nobody else does to make custom molds and all that. So I would hope it happens. I firmly believe it's going to happen at some point. I think it's too good to not happen. I don't see any other obvious theme that Lego hasn't touched on that's like, duh, of course. I don't know what else there really is. And that's just speaking honestly, even not as a Nintendo fan, two things that mesh well together. Other than controversial Fortnite, I think that could absolutely be a thing. But by the time the sets come out, the game may not be relevant anymore and it won't matter.
And that's always the trickiest part is something like Overwatch. It's, they came into the game after Overwatch had already been out for about 4 years.
But then Minecraft came out with Lego sets well after the game was out, and now it's still as popular as it's ever been.
Exactly.
And before Nintendo would be the theme that is no duh, it would be Minecraft. And that has taken off and done incredibly well, and that will continue to do well. Is there any other theme that, like, should deserve more importance over Nintendo for a Lego theme, you think, that you can think of?
Not particularly.
Yeah.
I mean, especially in recent years, they seem to have somewhat gotten all the licenses. Like you were saying, Fortnite's the only one that we can see a lot of people wanting.
Yeah.
And I can understand Lego's resistance to doing it, but I think, if anything, if they were going to have done Fortnite, they probably would have done it by now.
Or we'd hear rumors about it or
because
something.
it takes them so long to put it through the ringer of tests that they put things through to see if, is it going to sell? Is it going to give us a return on our investment?
Yeah, totally.
Things like that. Is it compliant with our brand? I think is probably the biggest thing. Because we've seen so many idea sets get shot down over the years, specifically because it's not in line with Lego's brand.
Totally.
And like you were saying, Nintendo and Lego, it's a match made in heaven.
And with that, that's Wave 1 and 2. If you have any suggestions for what Waves 1 and 2 would include, you can add your own biases by writing in, if you want to, podcast at BricksOBrian.com. Not that I implemented any viewer suggestions here, because at the time of this recording, no one knows that we're doing this. So it's going to be a surprise when this comes out for all of you. So hopefully you've enjoyed our thoughts on the Lego Nintendo line that doesn't exist yet. These are just our own opinions and suggestions. We don't know anything. I wish I knew some confidential information. I don't. They don't trust me enough with that. Not that anyone would be able to tell me anyways, but that's what we have for you. We're going to go and do something else. I want to thank you guys and girls for listening, watching, tuning in, and meowing it out, as always. My name has been Brian Saviano.
I'm Joesph White.
And you've just been listening to us for an extended period of time. Yeah.